The man in charge of regulating safety on Britain's trains told MPs today there are too many close calls on our rail network. Ian Prosser was answering questions from the Commons Transport Committee about last week's tram crash in Croydon. Today, more claims about previous near misses on the same stretch of track emerged as the first test trams ran through the crash site since the accident. Here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
The wrecked tram has gone, the damaged track has been repaired, and today, for the first time, another tram carried out a slow-speed test run to satisfy safety inspectors. The police are said to be investigating other cases of Croydon tram passengers who thought they were going too fast. Former British Rail track worker Cliff Gadd recalls a terrifying ride with his granddaughter 3 weeks ago on the same section of the line where last week's tragedy happened.
In my eyes, he was going fast for the noise. I worked in a lot of tunnels on the railway and you get that noise, but that was screaming. That weren't whistling, that was screaming through there. And then it was like a good braking system at the end of it. So, but yeah, we got away lightly, I think.
What did you say to the driver?
I didn't really say anything because he was in his seat, and I just looked at him and put my finger to my head and went, "You're nuts."
The government's chief inspector of railways was being questioned by MPs today when he made this alarming admission.
This is a very strong reminder that despite continuous improvement in safety, we cannot and must not be complacent. We still have too many close calls.
It's also emerged the derailed tram was fitted with a black box data recorder, which has been downloaded by experts from the Rail Accident Investigation Branch. The victims' families and survivors will have to wait many months for the full investigation into why the crash happened. But an interim report with possible safety recommendations is likely to be produced within the next few days. In the Commons, MPs wanted to know if trams could be more automated, like the Docklands Light Railway, to stop drivers going too fast.
Because they run both the part of the route on rails but also on roads, they have to rely, at least for part of their routes, on drivers driving according to the conditions in front of them, and therefore they can't have the same kind of systems that trains would have in terms of signalling. But there is a legitimate question, I think, about those sections of the route where they are running on rails and are akin to a train.
But one former board member for Transport for London suggested another option.
They could put speed cameras at the critical points, such as at the end of these two tunnels, and that would knock the power off if a tram was exceeding the speed.
This week's interim report might offer some answers, but the minister told MPs the full story of the Croydon tram disaster could take a year to uncover. Simon Harris, ITV News, Croydon.
The Mayor, Sadiq Khan, could serve an unprecedented extra year in office to avoid the 2020 mayoral election clashing with the general election. The idea has been put forward following an investigation into the shambolic vote count at this summer's election, which saw Mr Khan elected. I'm joined now by our political correspondent, Simon Harris. This sounds extraordinary. Could it really happen?
Nina, think back to election day in May. Not only did we have to wait till gone midnight for the final result, that apparently was down to a computer coding glitch with the electronic counting machines. Then there were the 600 or so voters in Barnet who didn't get a vote because the wrong electoral register was sent to polling stations. And we've learned today that more than 32,000 ballot papers were spoilt because voters were confused by first and second preference votes. Those were the main findings today of a review by the London Assembly, which has also concluded that if the next mayoral election in 2020 is held as planned on the same day as the general election, things will be even worse. So the Assembly wants the City Hall elections delayed.
It could be between 3 or 6 months, it could be to a year, but these are matters for government to decide on what they've done in the past.
It would be pretty unprecedented for a mayor to get an extra 12 months without the endorsement of voters.
It would be different for us, but then you would have to take into account it's very unprecedented to have a general election and a mayoral election on the same day.
You're a Labour chairman, a Labour London Assembly member. This is not a stitch-up by you to keep a Labour mayor in power for another year?
Not at all. I mean, we'd prefer it if it was straightforward and, you know, we could have our elections on 2020. But I think administratively, we're placing too much burden on our colleagues in local government in carrying out those elections.
So what's the Conservative government said about the potential of much more, Sadiq?
Well, we asked Whitehall if ministers will entertain the idea. There was no enthusiasm. We were told it's common practice to hold more than one election on the same day, and it can actually boost turnout. And it seems Sadiq Khan agrees that voters in London are capable of putting 2 ballot papers in the box on the same day.
Simon, thank you. There was bad language in the Chamber at Mayor's Question Time today as Sadiq Khan was quizzed over his appointment of Amy LeMay as London's Night Tsar. One Conservative member read what he described as offensive tweets the comedian posted in the past. Our political correspondent Simon Harris is here. Let's say an unusual spectacle at City Hall today.
Yes, and we're not talking about one of her performances. I think it's clear to say that Amy LeMay, the new Night Tsar, is not to everyone's taste. She's a Labour Party supporter as well as being a comedian, which probably makes her a legitimate target as far as the Conservatives are concerned. She's being paid £35,000 a year to work just 2 days, work which now won't involve chairing the Mayor's Nighttime Commission, which was the original plan. But what's really offended the Conservatives are not her jokes, not her salary, but some of her tweets, and some of them were read out in City Hall today.
We also saw on the 21st of April this year a tweet that implied regret that the Queen was still alive at the age of 90. And on the 8th of April 2013, the day that Margaret Thatcher died, we had "Ding dong, the witch is dead." Do you consider these tweets to be funny or acceptable?
Well, they're not tweets that I'd endorse or condone at all.
On the 2nd of October 2011, we had "Housework and hot day and reports from Tory party conference equals headache. Solution equals gin and tonic and fantasy of bitch slapping Cameron and Wazi." And then on the 30th of April last year, we had "What desperation, David Cameron, to use your dead son as a pawn to show you care about the NHS."
I don't agree with those tweets or condone them at all. And Amy was appointed because she's the best person for the job. It's really important to have someone with outstanding experience at the front line of London's nighttime economy in order to win the trust of industry.
And to be clear, Nina, we only played some of the more tame tweets that were read out today. The Conservatives pointed out that during the election campaign, Sadiq Khan was very quick to suspend a member of his team who was accused of sending offensive tweets. And this row isn't over yet. Next week, the London Assembly Oversight Committee will question some of the Mayor's officials who were involved in interviewing Amy LeMay.
Simon, thank you.
Before that, though, let's find out what's on the late debate tonight. Here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
When Gavin Barwell was appointed the new Minister for London, he could not have known he would soon be dealing with a major disaster in his own constituency. Mr Barwell represents Croydon Central, the scene of last week's horrific tram crash. Tonight, he talks to us about the impact on the local community and gives his thought on the Mayor's controversial new Night Tsar, Amy LeMay.
I think it's a controversial appointment, given some of the things that she said. But, you know, she's been appointed. We need to judge her on her record. Now she's doing the job.
Do you think he should suspend her or think again about the appointment after those tweets?
No, I presumably he was aware of the tweets before he appointed her to the role. But look, he's made the appointment. I think people have understandably taken offence at some of the things that were said. Were you offended? Well, yeah, I can see why people were offended by it. But she's got the job now, so let's see how she does in the job. That's I can judge people in doing the job. So you're prepared to say jury's out on Amy LeMay for the moment? Yeah, I think the important thing, now the decision has been made, the important thing is to see how she does in the job, and we'll judge her on the record in the job. I'll also be asking what London can expect from the Chancellor when he delivers his first autumn statement next week. We'll hear what the Mayor and London's business community want. That's the late debate at 11:15 here on ITV.